Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dhirayet Shrinatam Swa Katha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantastaya Patrani Danoti Suritsatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktirbhavati Nestaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9, verses 23 and 24. Verse 23. Tadbhratari uttamena ste mrigayayam tu tanmanah anveshanti vanam mata davagnim sa pravekshayati. Synonyms. What? Your. Bhratari, brother. Uttame, uttama. Naste, being killed. Mrigayayam, in hunting. Tu, then. Tat mana, being too afflicted. Anveshanti, while searching out. Vanam, in the forest. Mata, the mother. Davagnim, in the forest fire. Sa, she. Pravekshati, will enter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord continued, sometimes in the future your brother Uttama will go hunting in the forest, and while absorbed in hunting, he will be killed. Your stepmother Suruchi, being maddened upon the death of her son, will go to search him out in the forest, but she will be devoured by a forest fire. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj came to the forest to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a revenging spirit against his stepmother. His stepmother had insulted Dhruva, who was not an ordinary person, but a great Vaishnava. An offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is the greatest offense in this world. Because of having insulted Dhruva Maharaj, Suruchi would become mad upon the death of her son and would enter a forest fire, and thus her life would be ended. This was specifically mentioned by the Lord to Dhruva because he was determined for revenge against her. From this, we should take the lesson that we should never try to insult a Vaishnava. Not only should we not insult a Vaishnava, but we should not insult anyone unnecessarily. When Suruchi insulted Dhruva Maharaj, he was just a child. She, of course, did not know that Dhruva was a great recognized Vaishnava, and so her offense was committed unknowingly. When one serves a Vaishnava unknowingly, one still gets the good result, and if one unknowingly insults a Vaishnava, one suffers the bad result. A Vaishnava is specially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pleasing him or displeasing him directly affects the pleasure and displeasure of the Supreme Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his 8 stanzas of prayer to the spiritual master, has sung, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasadat. By pleasing the spiritual master, who is a pure Vaishnava, one pleases the personality of Godhead. But if one displeases the spiritual master, one does not know where he is going. Text 24. Istva mam yagyar hridayam yagya puskala dakshina muktava cheha sisa satya ante mam samsmarishyasi. Synonyms. Istva, after worshipping, mam, me, yagya hridayam, the heart of all sacrifices, yagya, by great sacrifices, pushkala, dakshina, comprehending distribution of great charities, Uktava, after enjoying, Cha, also here, within this world, Ashisha, blessings, Satya, true, Ante, at the end, Mam, me, Samsriyash, Samsmarishyasi, you will be able to remember. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada. The Lord continued, I am the heart of all sacrifices. You will be able to perform many great sacrifices and also give great charities. In this way, you will be able to enjoy the blessings of material happiness in this life. And at the time of your death, you will be able to remember me. Purport. The most important factor in this verse is the Lord's instructions regarding how to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the end of life. Ante Narayana Smriti. The result of whatever we do in executing spiritual activities is successful if we can remember Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This program of constant remembrance can be disturbed by many things, but Dhruva Maharaj's life would be so pure, as assured by the Lord Himself, that Dhruva would never forget Him. Thus, at the time of his death, he would remember the Supreme Lord, and before his death, he would enjoy this material world, not by sense gratification, but by performing great sacrifices. As stated in the Vedas, when one performs great sacrifices, he must give charity not only to the Brahmanas, but also to the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. It is assured here that Dhruva Maharaj would be able to perform such activities. In this age of Kali, however, the great sacrifice is the performance of Sankirtan Yajna. Our Krishna consciousness movement is designed to teach people and to learn ourselves the exact instructions of the personality of Godhead. In this way, we shall continuously perform the Sankirtan Yajna and continuously chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Then at the end of our lives, we shall certainly be able to remember Krishna, and our program of life will be successful. In this age, distribution of prasad has replaced distribution of money. No one has sufficient money to distribute, but if we distribute Krishna prasad as far as possible, this is more valuable than the distribution of money. End of purport. Om Jnanatimirtasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, thank you, all the assembled Vaishnavas, for the opportunity to recite Srimad Bhagavatam and thereby have the opportunity to purify myself. This chapter, Dhruva Maharaj returns home and currently he is still having a dialogue with the Supreme Personality of Godhead after having been blessed by the Supreme Personality, Kshirodakashai Vishnu, by his conch shell, who touched his forehead with his conch shell, thereby making sure that his senses and everything else, his bodily features, his bodily strength, and everything is restored. And his memory is restored because Dhruva Maharaj was having memory issues in trying to recite Uttam shlokas or the choice verses to glorify the Supreme Lord. But however, having been blessed by the touched by the conch shell of the Supreme Lord, his memory becomes active and thereby he speaks to the Lord and glorifies the Lord with choice verses. And here the Lord is giving him assurance that all his desires will be fulfilled, even though he may have changed his mind about, like, getting a revenge from his mother, or, like, from his brother or from his father, or desiring to have a kingdom bigger than his grandfather, Lord Brahma. But Lord knows within the heart of a person that he was doing this penance only for these purposes. But now, of course, that is the result of bhakti, the magnificent effect that we have. Sometimes we carry in our heart a lot of bad feelings, ill feelings towards somebody who was not very good to us while growing up. So some memories stay. But after taking to Krishna consciousness, we feel that, we see that, well, it's not worth, thinking bad about it and thereby spoiling my own mood. It's better to forgive such a person and move on. So mentally, you can sometimes do those things and move on. So you move towards that situation where you are, attaining that status of being an Ajat Shatru. Ajat Shatru means the one who does not have any enemy. So once we achieve that thing, then it automatically cleanses our heart, and we no longer carry any malice in our heart towards any person who was not, or who was nasty towards us, or may have misbehaved towards us. So that's the thing. That's the thing. So a lot of times, however, those were times when we were not taking to Vaishnavism. But however, once we are mentioned here, Prabhupada mentions that once we are a Vaishnava, even though Dhruva Maharaj was not an acknowledged Vaishnava at the time when Mother Suruchi and insulted him, but after having undertaken those austerities, he becomes a Vaishnava after taking initiation from Narada Muni. The effect of that action of Suruchi was still going to have a reaction. So Lord is giving him the synopsis, like, in future, what is going to happen to your mother, to your stepbrother, to your father, and everything else that he is talking. So he knows that there is no point in carrying any more enmity. Rather, he would become very, very good towards all of them. So that's how a Vaishnava should conduct oneself, and, like, forget and forgive and move on. But Lord doesn't forgive these things and forget these things. So if somebody does do bad thing to you when you are a Vaishnava, Lord will not forgive such a person. One can experience these things in one's own life when you have strictly started following Vaishnava principles and strictly chanting the holy name. Despite you being a Vaishnava, if somebody does insult you, that's an offense, Vaishnava aparadh. That person you may forgive, but Krishna will not. Krishna will not. So we should not give a chance to anybody to insult us, and nor should we insult anybody at the same time. So he's also telling him that, about the sacrifices in the verse 24, the sacrifices the main sacrifice for this age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what is the charity that is given? The Krishna Prasadam. So it's so simple, and anybody can do it. And prasadam has so much spiritual benefit that anybody who consumes the prasadam also begins to have a change of heart and tends to lean towards Vaishnavism and ultimately does take up Vaishnavism. So many people have converted to Vaishnavism in our ISKCON organization, having coming having come to the temple or okay, let's go to the temple on Sunday. There is free food distribution there. There is a love feast going on. So they come, they eat, and they gradually purify. They gradually become purified, and then they end up becoming a Vaishnava and start to do the chanting themselves, start to doing following the principles, and thereby make a success of one's life. So, and Lord also assures Dhruva Maharaj about the time that you are going to rule the world for 36,000 years. And he also gives him that eternal youth benediction that all his senses are going to be strong till the time he gives up his body. I mean, the body is what? The body is basically a dress. But once the spirit is strong and spirit is healthy, then this body, which is destined to be lost, just like we lose our clothes, something that get torn, and we will throw it away. Same way, the spirit soul also discards this body that is become useless, that cannot perform the functions, bodily functions properly, and thereby goes to its original position of spiritual and according to its destination, depending upon what kind of a karma and depending upon whether or not one was able to remember Sri Krishna or any of his forms, the kind of next body is determined. So the transfer to the next body happens just like we choose another set of clothes to wear when one set of clothes become dirty. So that's how, and all this process that is going on right now, chanting the holy name, reciting Bhagavatam, devotee association, which is most important, and taking lessons from exalted personalities, and doing our sadhana is all a step towards achieving the ultimate goal, so that at the time of our final exam we are able to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead with concentrated mind. Even though mind is going to be very disturbed sometimes, you can experience those things when you are not feeling very well. Your mind will be like focused on your illness as opposed to be focused on Krishna. So one should try to be more focused in all circumstances. Thereby, that practice is going to be standing in good stead at the time of our final exam. But if we have done a lifetime of good practice of chanting the holy name, and we were able to achieve a span which is offense-free chanting, then even if we are disturbed at the time of our death and we are unable to remember or to chant the holy name of Lord, but Krishna will remember. Thereby, your life will be a success one way or the other. So with this, I will stop. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,